And it's a pleasure to be joined by the President of the Treasury Board and Ontario's Minister of Finance, Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy, joining us this morning, and as well the CEO of eCampusOntario, Dr. Robert Luke. Always a pleasure to be able to work on projects like this with Dr. Luke over at eCampus. We've been working in collaboration with each other now for some time, and done it's just been fabulous work that's been done in improving access to, and as well the quality of post-secondary's virtual learning here in Ontario. It was about 5 months ago now that Minister Bethlenfalvy and I had the pleasure of announcing a $50 million virtual learning strategy. Since that time, we've been hard at work executing on our plan. Today, I'm very proud to announce that our government is investing in nearly 400 innovative projects at Ontario's colleges, universities, and Indigenous Institutes. These projects are focused on 3 critical areas. Number one, we want to make sure that we're creating programs that are digital by design. We want content that are for our new courses that, again, are focusing in on equipping our faculty and our students with the resources and the skills that they're going to need so that they can A, teach online, and B, learn online in a much better way moving forward. We want to be able to identify new and innovative educational technologies that can support better online courses and program offerings. And ultimately, we want to make sure that these projects are made in Ontario, with that made in Ontario strategy in mind, so that we can continue to be a global leader in the delivery of high quality post-secondary education. As you know, and I've said this numerous times, I will always say it, we are one of the best sectors in the world at delivering post-secondary education, and you do not remain the best by standing still. We need to continue to move forward. We need to continue to work at coming up with new innovative technologies, and this is exactly that type of a strategy to continue to position Ontario as leaders in the global marketplace. These projects are designed to give post-secondary institutions the opportunities to be competitive in this new and necessary environment of learning from home. When we first started in the COVID-19 pandemic, well over a year ago now, the reality was that not every one of our institutions in Ontario was at the same level platform. There were different institutions in different positions on that learning continuum or on that delivery continuum. And we wanted to work towards ensuring that we created a base platform for everybody to be able to deliver quality education and programs to their students across all of Ontario. We knew that that was going to be necessary for our sector moving forward. We knew it was going to be necessary to entrench our position as a leader, Ontario's leadership position globally. Our government acted immediately to help build institutions' capacity to deliver the high quality education that the students deserve while they had to stay at home to help stop the spread of COVID-19, but ensuring that we never lost a year of study. No one's continuity of education was interrupted. We recognized the opportunity to realize untapped potential in virtual learning, to modernize the area, and to really modernize how we deliver post-secondary education. An opportunity for people to learn when and where they wanted to be able to learn, and to continue to advance our position as leaders. This has the potential to augment and support the world-class in-person education that is already offered by our colleges and our universities and our Indigenous Institutes. It allows people to learn when and where they want, which represents an opportunity to deliver courses to students who would not otherwise be able to access post-secondary education. For example, think of a single working parent who doesn't have the time to commute to campus to attend for hours of class. They now have the ability to access programs like micro-credentials, for instance, to improve their skills so that they can re-enter the workforce or retrain to upskill their position within the workforce without the same time commitments that traditionally come from in-class study. This is just yet another example of how we can continue to be leaders. Another example is within the international student market. We can look at international students who want to access the great programs and courses that are offered by Ontario's post-secondary institutions, but don't necessarily want to leave their community, may not be able to leave their community yet, or are considering leaving their community to consider moving to Ontario for more in-person learning or to be able to relocate here. By helping our institutions to increase the quality and the quantity of virtual offerings, we are setting them up for success so that they will be able to compete in a better way in this global marketplace. To that end, the projects are expected to create 394 new digital by design resources, simulations, courses, and programs. The second aspect of the strategy is focused on giving students and faculty the tools that they're going to need to build their digital classroom. It's going to make virtual learning an increasingly realistic option for students who otherwise would not be able to attend institutions in person. By improving the virtual learning experience for our students and our faculty, we are ensuring that prospective students can access the training that they need, and they will ultimately increase post-secondary institutions' ability for students to gain world-class training when and where they want it. The last thing I'm going to say here, and I promise I'm almost done, Minister Bethlenfalvy is used to me going on a little bit too much here, and so would Dr. Luke by this point, but the last thing I want to reference is that these projects are going to drive innovation, and they're going to continue to position Ontario as a global leader in the area. By prioritizing Ontario-made content, we are investing in the growing edtech sector in Ontario. This allows us to position Ontario to see the maximum benefits as post-secondary education around the world is increasingly being delivered online. Ultimately, these investments in the development of these projects are allowing Ontario to be a top destination for educational technology innovation, and it's helping us build on the success of more than 60 small and medium-sized enterprise edtech companies that exist right here in Ontario. So in closing, I want to thank you, Dr. Luke, and your team at eCampusOntario for this amazing work in getting these 400 projects ready to go. And I want to thank our Minister of Finance and President of the Treasury Board, Minister Bethlenfalvy, for all of your excellent partnership, collaboration, and help on this file. I know how important it is to you and our future state modernization initiatives. And I know you're excited to talk about this as well. I will now turn it over to you, Minister. Thank you so much. And over to you.
Well, thank you very much for that kind of introduction, Ross, and really thank you for your ongoing leadership. You're very passionate about this, and you've been a tireless champion for Ontario's post-secondary students and institutions. So I admire the work that you've been doing since day one. This work is critical for the future of students and our workforce and our province. As the minister responsible for digital and data transformation, part of my role through the pandemic has been transforming how we provide programs and services to the people of Ontario. That's why last fall, Premier Ford and I announced Ontario Onwards, Ontario's COVID-19 action plan for a people-focused government. This is our roadmap to provide more convenient and more reliable and more accessible programs and services for all Ontarians. And to unlock our potential for digital transformation, this month, I announced our province's first ever digital and data strategy built competitive global economy of today and for the jobs of tomorrow. And that brings me to today's announcement that Ross has so eloquently teed up. Under the leadership of Mr. Romano, we are transforming virtual learning by supporting nearly 400 innovative projects at Ontario's colleges, universities, and Indigenous Institutes. This significant investment is a core component of Ontario's virtual learning strategy and our government's historic $70 million commitment to it. Sous la direction du ministre Romano, nous transformons l'apprentissage virtuel en appuyant près de 400 projets innovateurs dans des collèges, des universités et des instituts autochtones de l'Ontario. Cet investissement considérable constitue un élément fondamental de la stratégie pour l'apprentissage virtuel de l'Ontario et s'inscrit dans la carte de l'engagement historique de notre gouvernement d'y consacrer 70 millions de dollars. And this includes over $21 million that I announced in our 2021 budget. These key investments build on our plan to make Ontario's post-secondary education system not only sustainable, but truly competitive on the world stage. And these projects will enable the next generation of Ontarians to acquire the skills and technological capabilities they need to succeed. Because we know that fostering the ingenuity and innovation of our students is one way we can build the workforce of tomorrow, today. And expanding virtual learning options means more choice and flexibility for Ontarians. This will unlock more opportunities for more people to upgrade their skills, their skill sets, retrain or pivot their careers in a digital world. A parent with childcare responsibilities could conveniently access online courses that would commute. Or a student could get instant are offered at campuses hundreds of kilometers away. A world-class virtual learning strategy, along with other innovative Ontario Onwards initiatives, will provide a sustainable path for Ontario's post-pandemic recovery and will help fulfill our vision of making Ontario a world-leading digital jurisdiction. Because as the world has changed, our government is changing with it. And with that, I'd like to thank you and pass the podium over to Dr. Luke.
To not just to succeed now, but also for the future. This investment is accelerating the transition from emergency remote teaching that we saw at the beginning of the pandemic to a future of high quality, purposeful digital learning that will ensure learners have access to education anytime from anywhere. And this important transition requires innovation in curriculum that, as the minister has said, is digital by design. This means designing for the 21st century learner and ensuring that content and community are accessible to all Ontarians, wherever they are and whenever they want to learn. The future of learning is about supporting options for learners, whether this be fully online or hybrid, and we want each semester to be the best one yet. The virtual learning strategy enables lifelong learning so that learners can meet the needs of our rapidly evolving labor market at any stage of their careers. Building fluency and the ability to navigate a digital learning and teaching environment is core skill for the 21st century. For the future of learning is the future of work, and that future is now. As we strengthen Ontario's reputation as a global leader and testbed for innovation in teaching and learning, we also expand access for Ontario's institutions to the global marketplace, as Minister Romano has said. In supporting our growing educational technology sector here at home, we are sending a clear message: buy local and think global. When we support Ontario educational technology, whether this is emerging from our innovative faculty or our colleagues in industry, we are supporting excellence in teaching and learning, and we are supporting the future of learning for Ontario. We are collectively poised to help prepare Ontario for the next phase of virtual learning, where what was born out of necessity now becomes a signal advantage. And we look forward to working with Ontario's Indigenous Institutes, our colleges and our universities, and our partners over the coming months to create what will become an unprecedented wealth of virtual learning content. I encourage you all to go to vls.ecampusontario.ca and have a look at the almost 400 projects that have been funded to date under the virtual learning strategy. You will find innovative approaches to support our faculty and our learners and their success in digital learning, investments in the digital capacity of our Indigenous institutes, colleges, and universities to create meaningful online learning, support for partnerships with Ontario educational technology companies to help them achieve the pedagogical proof points for their solutions to realize global markets, digital content that is using virtual reality and simulation for teaching complex skills in critical areas of the economy, like healthcare and engineering, wraparound supports for supporting digital fluency for diversity and inclusion and student and faculty mental health. And there's also content to teach Ontario students about entrepreneurship, including Indigenous and Black youth entrepreneurship and an Entrepreneurship for Creatives micro-credential program, These are all linked well to the provincial intellectual property efforts. There are courses on Indigenous knowledge and language and support for Francophone learners across Ontario. As the ministers have also said, there's also collaborative efforts to market Ontario post-secondary education as a destination to the world. And there's more to come. Digital delivery supports for system software licenses and ongoing digital capacity supports through the eCampusOntario central virtual learning platform to help our institutions continue to build best-in-class digital learning. This generous funding from the ministry could not come at a more opportune moment to provide new and innovative ways for Ontarians to access the education and training they need for jobs in the pandemic and post-pandemic economies. The virtual learning strategy has brought our sector together to collaborate on the future of learning for all learners. I see my colleague Steve Orsini here in the audience. I would like to quote him by saying, in Ontario now, collaboration is a competitive advantage when we all work together. I look forward to the considerable benefit that Ontario's learners will gain from this important work. And I owe a debt of thanks to many, including Wendy Johnson for the Indigenous Institutes Consortium, Steve Orsini, Council of Ontario University, and Linda Franklin from Colleges Ontario, the Minister's Office, of course, and the officials that we work with at the Ministry of Colleges and Universities. This has really been a team effort to get this to where we are today. And I would like to thank Minister Romano and Minister Bethlenfalvy for this exceptional commitment to virtual learning and the vision for the possibilities that the virtual learning strategy provides. Thank you and good day, and I'll pass it back to Minister Romano.
Thank you very much, Dr. Luke and Minister Bethlenfalvy for those words. And this is to really sum it up, everyone. I think the most simplest way, if I may say it that way, to characterize this is basic infrastructure that we're creating to allow all of our institutions to compete in a new marketplace, to make it easier for our institutions to be able to deliver the courses, to ensure that their faculty are in a better position and better trained to be able to create the content, to deliver a better experience for the students, to make it easier for the students to be able to learn in this environment. We have to be able to look at it. Sometimes I find it challenging to use hockey expressions, but in light of the playoffs just starting, I'll say, looking at Wayne Gretzky's old analogy, look at where the puck is going. And I think we could see that in the virtual world and the post-secondary world, we're seeing ever increasingly a move in this sector. This was a very, very good opportunity where we were in the midst, and we are in the midst of an extremely, extremely challenging time around the entire world right now. We're all on the same footing dealing with COVID-19. Everyone is dealing with the challenge. We found a way to find the opportunity to propel ourselves in this area through this challenging time. And I believe that we have done an exceptional job. I'm very, very proud of the work that's been done by Dr. Luke and by all of our institutions. I want to just say one final thing before turning it back to you, Tori. It was really important to see, and it was really quite humbling to see the amount of institutions that worked in partnership together and collaboration in delivering a lot of the programs. In the early days, a number of our presidents of our colleges and universities will remember I got on the phone with you all in that first 6 weeks or so, and we were chatting about our top 3 biggest issues that were impacting us. And this was at one of the front and center issues that everyone was very, very worried about in those early days, because we were very concerned about ensuring that students would not lose a year of study. And through that time and that we spent together, I spoke a lot with you all about not all institutions being on an equal footing right now. And there was a real strong collaboration in the sector. And I really think we owe it to our institutions to have recognized that. I know for a lot of our institutions, it was a struggle in those early days to think, if we're already at a certain point, why would we necessarily require some of these services? And I think everybody saw the opportunity that existed and really pitched in together to deliver what we have today, which is something I think we can all be very proud of. And this is truly an Ontario-made strategy. And it's one that came together because of all of your hard work and collaboration and really understanding the greater goal of where we needed to move, not just because of the challenge that we were in because of COVID-19, but because of the opportunity it presented for Ontario moving forward in the post-secondary sector to firmly entrench us as one of the best places in the world to get a post-secondary education. With that, I will conclude. Thank you very much. Over to you, Tori.
Thank you very much, Minister. We will now turn it over to media for questions. A reminder, please type question into the chat function along with your media organization, and we'll try to get to your question. First question comes from Jack Cowan at Queen's Park Briefing. Jack, please unmute your mic.
Hi, Minister Romano. The board of PCAB meets tomorrow. Can we expect a decision on Canada Christian College, do you think?
Sorry, Jack, I'm not in a position to be able to respond to that, but certainly we'll be awaiting a response from PCAB as most others are, but I can't comment on exactly when I would be in a position to see that document, but certainly very, very happy to be able to move forward with this information we have here today. Very exciting information and news for the entire post-secondary sector in Ontario to be able to deliver on these 400 new exciting projects for the province's virtual learning strategy.
Next question.
Do you think that someone who has said that LGBT people prey on children, who said Islam is not a religion, should be able to run a degree granting university in Ontario? What do you think that says about our province?
I think, again, Jack, back if you recall from when we were addressing these questions at the time of the application, any individual in this province has the right to put applications forward for designations as in licenses. And there's a process. The process has been going on now for a number of months. And I would ask everyone to not only respect the process, but trust the process. And we'll be concluding based on your earlier question. Sounds like it's coming to a conclusion rather soon. And we will anxiously await the results of that. Thank you.
Next question comes from Tegan Versolato at CTV Kitchener. Tegan, please unmute your mic.
Hi, Mr. Romano. This is Tegan from CTV Kitchener. I'm just asking to see if there is an update on the province's request to ban international students. There's been any movement on that situation since you last provided an update?
Well, thank you very much, Tegan, for that question. And I'm more than happy to address that as discussed previously. Of course, there is no request for that, and that is unfair to characterize them in that way. What the discussion is very simply, we know that in our sector, colleges and universities in Ontario have done an exceptional job since the beginning of the pandemic in ensuring that there was safety on our campuses. The system that we have at our colleges and universities has demonstrated success throughout the pandemic, and we will continue to move forward in that fashion. When it comes to some of the concerns that were raised around borders, the fact of the matter is, and Minister Bethlenfalvy and I both have discussed this with numerous other members and the Premier of our cabinet and with our Premier, the fact of the matter is that the variants are 100% coming from outside of our borders, and we need to ensure that our borders are secure. Fact of the matter is international students and our colleges and universities are doing exceptionally well, but there is the variants are coming in through our borders, and we have to ensure that we call upon the federal government to ensure that we do everything in our power to prevent that from happening. So thank you for that question again, but I believe the system we have at our institutions is working, and I believe that we are doing an exceptional job in that regard.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah, sorry, thank you. And so just to clarify, so at this point, the federal government hasn't said anything about kind of closing that loophole or making any changes to the current restrictions for students?
At this stage, there's no, my understanding is that we are moving forward. I've received no communications from the federal government or any of the relevant ministers with respect to that. And we continue to move forward on our model for, as we've announced here today, a virtual learning model that enables Ontario to be in a position to deliver a post-secondary education to all of our students, both internationally as well as our domestic students, with a base to learn on a virtual platform. But of course, we want to move as much as possible to be able to deliver hybrid education, in-person learning, wherever possible when it is safe to do so.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes today's announcement. Minister, if you'd like to provide closing remarks.
I think I've probably said more than enough at this point, but again, I want to say thank you to Minister Bethlenfalvy. I want to say thank you to Dr. Luke and your team at eCampus. This is outstanding news for the province of Ontario, and this is great news for all of our students and our faculty of our post-secondary institutions. And I really want to say thank you again to Mr. Orsini and Ms. Franklin at Colleges in Ontario and Council of Ontario Universities, and all of our college and university presidents for all of your support through this process, for your collaboration. Thank you so much. It's been great, and I've enjoyed this time being able to work on this strategy with you. And thank you very much. This has been very important. This is very critical to our steps moving forward in the post-secondary sector. So all the best to you. Have a great week.